on today's show, Supercar Challenge, iRacing's new build, and top race. Welcome to Inside Sim Racing. I'm your host, Jessica Lopez. We have two reviews today, one for the PC and one for the PS3, which we'll start off with. We also have tech tips with Sean Cole, and welcome to the show, by the way.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. And yeah, you know, I'm pretty stoked about this. It's been a while since we did tech tips. We've kind of been on a track etiquette roll, but we're going to do this one. And, you know, we've covered a bunch of different parts of the car. Today, we're going to just sort of, how do you get started, set up?
Back to basics.
Yeah, the basics for sure.
We also have Top Sim Cars, which is sponsored by SimRaceway.com. Two new cars added to the list, the Toyota Supra from R Factor.
Exactly. And then we also have the Dallara. This is the Indy car for iRacing that Darren and I got to drive at Sonoma a while back, and quite a car. So it went right to the list now that it's released.
And we're going to first start off with our quick review here of Supercar Challenge, and you're the Vision Racer here, right?
Yeah, actually I am, which we reviewed a while back, and you know, we see I'm kind of fitting in it. I got my booster seat this time, and we also went ahead and did our normal thing. We wanted a Porsche shifter on there, so we went ahead and used some profile tubing, drilled some holes, modified it the way we love to do things around here, and worked out really nice.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, well, before we get more into the Supercar Challenge, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the specs. From the makers of Ferrari Challenge, System 3 brings you Supercar Challenge, based on the same engine. Licensed real-world tracks such as Spa, Silverstone, Monza, and Nürburgring. Car makes include Koenigsegg, Ferrari, Aston Martin, Pagani, McLaren, and more. This title is on the PS3 and supports 16 racers via multiplayer. It also includes a career mode, paint shop, challenge mode, as well as a quick race. Supercar has native support for the Logitech wheels as well as the Ferrari Thrustmaster F430. Okay, so I'm here with Sean. He's in the Vision Racer, driving Supercar and driving the Aston Martin, correct?
Yeah, I'm in the Aston Martin, made famous by James Bond of all people, but like you said, we are driving Supercar Challenge.
So tell the viewers what you think about the physics so far.
The physics, you know, we tested Ferrari Challenge a while back, and really we didn't enjoy its physics very much. They claim to have made big changes to it, but I'm not real excited about the physics. There's not a lot of feel involved in it. The car's handling is a little goofy feeling to me. Not real impressive.
What about the force feedback?
Well, physics also, like I kept saying, the feel. I mean, I wasn't feeling a lot of it in the wheel. There's no real connection between what the car is doing and what the wheel is doing, and that's all force feedback. It's not very good in that department as well. I mean, it's there. You feel the bumps, you feel the road a little bit, but just not on the caliber we're accustomed to.
And I also noticed that it got half a point out of 5 total for AI, or artificial intelligence. What's that all about?
Well, and this, especially in a console title, is something that is hard to get over. You know, you get a game, it can have some great qualities, but if the AI aren't drivable or playable, well, and in this case, so we're showing you footage right now, they just slam on their brakes for no reason. They go into a tight corner, everybody comes to a halt, they slam you from behind all the time. It's carnage. If you bump somebody from the rear, they just slam on their brakes. And so these console games, I mean, they depend on the career mode and the whole evolution of the title unfolding. And if it's not fun to race the computer, you really can't experience all of that. So it takes away from the fun factor in so many categories.
Well, this is the first title that is compatible with the F430 wheel by Thrustmaster.
Yeah, and that's a great step. Like this wheel, I mean, people are looking for that one wheel they can use, whether it's, you know, regardless of the platform. In this case, you use this title, and you use that Ferrari wheel, and you could also use it as your PC wheel. So, and maybe hopefully more titles will start working with that wheel as well. Worked real well, and you know, you gotta love having the Ferrari badge when you're driving a Ferrari car. So despite this Supercar Challenge opening up the Aston, as you mentioned, and the Pagani, Zonda, and a bunch of other cars, it definitely still has that bloodline of Ferrari cars in it.
All right, well, Darren and Sean put this title through our weighted rating scale, and they gave the title an overall score of 57.3.
Ouch!
We did expect it to score a little higher, being that it is compatible with the F430 wheel.
Yeah, and I think if we converted, it even scored lower than the Ferrari Challenge, which is kind of a surprise.
And lower than the V8 Superstars, which has scored the lowest so far.
Yeah, and that puts it pretty far down. The game, for a beginner sim racer, this might be a good starting point. It's real forgiving on the damage, and it's got great looking cars, great looking tracks, cool sound. So, I mean, despite that score, there's definitely a place for it. The graphics are good, but they're dated. And anyway, yeah, that score is not very impressive.
All right, well, moving forward on to Tech Tips, where Sean's going to take us back to basics. And this segment is sponsored by simraceway.com, home of the one-click install.
Tech Tips, getting started on your setup. Sponsored by Sim Raceway. So you're running late, coming home from work, sitting in traffic maybe. You're freaking out because you have a big race this evening, but here's the problem. Not only are you running late, but you have no setup. Where do you begin? In a quick pinch, it is hard to beat downloading a setup and using that one. If you do a search for setups for just about any sim out there, you will find sites that have plenty of them to choose from. Often, the makers of the setup will include notes on lap times and how the car handles. This is a great guideline for picking a setup. Usually, the setups will be organized by cars and what tracks they were designed for. Many times, you will find more than one setup, and you might need to drive them all to see which one works best for you. I can recommend a couple of websites or teams that have great setups that you can depend on. Team Redline might be the best racing team on earth, and they have tons of setups available for download. Also, Orion Racing Team not only has setups available, but also a racing school for those of you looking to get to the next level. Sometimes you won't be able to find a setup for the track that you are seeking. This is also easily fixed in a pinch. The best solution is to think about the track. What type of track? The length of the straightaways? Does it have cambered or flat corners? Is there a lot of elevation change or big curves? Define the track and then look for a setup for a similar track. You might find that a setup for Laguna Seca might work reasonably well at Infineon. Obviously, a setup for a flat airport-style track like Cleveland will not work well at Spa. So now you have a set, or maybe you don't, but now you're at the track. Where do you start? On short notice to adjust a setup or to create a quick setup, this is where I begin. Gearing. It is critical to have your gearing at least in the ballpark. Let that engine do what it was made for and use all of its power. You don't have to be perfect, but getting it close will make for better lap times. Tires. Over or underinflated tires will not get their best grip. It is hard to judge the grip of the tires and the effects of camber if your tires are pumped up too much. Brake bias. When it comes to a downloaded setup, I find brake bias to be my #1 adjustment to make the car right for me. You don't want to be locking up the front tires every time you touch the brake or spinning out from the rear ends locking up on you. Steering lock. Like brake bias, I find this to be very personal. Take a great setup and use the wrong lock for you and it will be garbage. This is your fastest adjustment to the sensitivity of the car. Fuel. Many downloaded setups were built for speed, and that means nearly in qualifying trim. You are going to need to have enough fuel to make it through the entire length of the race. With these 5 changes to a setup downloaded or to a default one, you can make a stable setup and be good enough to be competitive. If you have additional time, you can move on to other setup changes as well. On short notice, you are mostly looking for comfort. Obviously, nothing can substitute being fully prepared with a proven setup and many laps under your belt. This has been another installment of Tech Tips by Sean Cole, sponsored by Sim Raceway.
Welcome back to the show. Hope you've enjoyed it so far. I'm here with Darren.
I've enjoyed it.
I've enjoyed it as well.
It's been very enjoyable.
It has been.
Hi, everybody.
And we're going to talk about iRacing, who has released a new build this week. They got a long list of significant improvements.
Yeah, they sure have.
And why don't we tell the viewers about the improvements?
Let's do it.
Starting with fast track licensing, where you can advance a lot faster to get your A license. You need to have a 4.0 safety rating in the current class you are running to advance to all but the Pro Series. You can also be demoted just as fast for dropping below 1.0. Hosted iRacing, something a lot of leagues have been waiting for, the ability to host your own races. For a cost of $3, a host session can be purchased with iRacing dollars and or iRacing credits at this time. And introducing 2 new cars to the iRacing fleet, the Big Daddy of American Open Wheel Racing, the exclusive chassis of the Indy Racing Series, the Dallara IndyCar, weighing in at 1,525 pounds on ovals or 1,600 pounds on road courses, with a top speed of 240 miles per hour, burning 100% ethanol. This 3.5-liter, 650 horsepower V8 is a beast. The C6R took up where its predecessor left off, winning Corvette's 5th straight ALMS GT1 title and a third-class win at Le Mans. Corvette also dominated GT1 competition in the United States and Europe, earning 4 ALMS titles and a total of 6 class wins at Le Mans and Sebring. Talk about grunt. The LS7R naturally aspirated V8 has 590 horsepower and 640 foot-pounds of torque and is matted to an X-Track 6-speed sequential transmission. Last but not least, a new road course, Mosport. The first home of the Canadian Grand Prix, Mosport International Raceway was built in the late 1950s. Located approximately 50 miles east of Toronto, Mosport has 10 turns and is 2.45 miles in length. With lots of updates included in this build, how do you, Darren, feel about the Corvette?
Jessica, I actually love it. It's the best to date. You know, they've come out with it in GTR Evo, R Factor. There's been a mod, and even our buddy Sean Purdy, who did the one in R Factor, thinks that. Isn't that right, Sean?
Yeah.
Thinks that this one is the best, and I agree. Best one to date. It's
and you
incredible.
also got to drive the IndyCar, which Sean mentioned earlier. You guys were up at Sonoma, and you were at Infineon, and you tested it out. Has it changed much from when you tested it until now that iRacing's released it?
Not really. It's pretty much the same from what I remember. It probably feels a little bit different in my rig, with the butt kicker and all that stuff, but no, it pretty much feels the same, man. That thing's really tough to tame. It takes time and patience, but it's going to be really rewarding once you really get it nailed.
iRacing has also announced some price changes. They've come out with price drops in their subscriptions.
Yeah, you can get as a matter of fact, you can get a trial, I think, for like $5 at inracingnews.com, which is their...
Is it iRacing News or InRacing News?
InRacing News, that's their new site. So
inracingnews.com to find out more changes on their prices.
Yep.
And that's going to take us to a quick commercial break. When we return, Darren will still be here with me. We're going to be reviewing Top Race by Tupez.
Oh.
All right, so we're back here. We're going to go over the first title to be put through our weighted rating scale. Wait, the first PC title.
PC, that's right. Politically correct. Personal computer. Now, yeah, our first one. Weighted
First
rating
PC
scale.
title we put through the weighted rating scale, and that's Top Race by Tupez, the same makers of Turismo Cartera.
That's not how people like you saying it.
Turismo Cartera, or
There we
Turismo
go.
Cartera for all you Spanish and non-speaking
English?
Spanish people.
I'm with you.
And you seemed a little disappointed by that title.
Yeah, it definitely didn't live up to what I expected. You know, they've been talking about this title for a long time. You know, some of the tracks are cool, but I was expecting more. You know, the second time with the ISI engine, so not very good.
All right, well, before we let the viewers in on what's wrong with the title, I'm going to go ahead and give them the lowdown. From the makers of Turismo Cartera, Argentinian developer Tupez uses ISI's G-Motor 2 engine again with this title to bring you Top Race. 12 tracks are included with 40 different cars from manufacturers like VW, Ford, Mercedes, and Chevrolet. You can now race on any of the 12 circuits in the rain against different levels of AI or via online against your friends. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Sean. Are there any redeeming qualities about this title?
There's a couple. You know, the new tracks are pretty cool. Horse feedback's decent. Multiplayer's solid. It's got the most recent ISI multiplayer in it. But other than that, it's like I said before, it's just missing out in a lot of places.
How does it compare to the mods on R Factor?
There's definitely some mods that are a lot better than this whole package. I mean, they just, I don't know. It's just I don't like the physics. I don't like the feel of the cars. Tracks are pretty cool. Graphics are very dated, especially for R Factor. I've seen stuff that's a ton better in R Factor. So, just, you know, subpar effort in my opinion.
All right. Well, it is going to be the first PC title to be put through our weighted rating scale, and Darren's going to go ahead and give you that information.
Coming in at an overall of 62.5, Top Race had its strengths in AI and multiplayer, did mediocre in the physics department, and really suffered in sounds, graphics, and fun factor. I'm sorry to say, but Tupez needs to go back to the drawing board and or move on to a different game engine.
There you have it, Top Race by Tupez. Next up, we're going to move on over to Top Sim Cars. We have the Toyota Supra for R Factor.
Yep, and then the Dallara IndyCar by iRacing.com.
That's right, and this whole segment's going to be sponsored by SimRaceway.com.
Home of the one-click install. All right, here we are for our 6th installment of top simulation cars of all time.
Sticking to it.
Heck, can you believe it?
Well, we get a lot of response. The website looks great, and people are voting on it even.
Yep. Let's back this up a little bit so we can... This car, the Toyota Supra, is by... now I'm not going to be able to see it.
Well,
Right.
by Slim.
Here it is. Sim
Enough.
Anik and Niles Huskenveld,
There you go.
who I believe did the physics on it. And these guys also did the Corvette C6R.
Another
Not
street
C6R,
car.
C6, the street car.
Right, right. Street car, and this is another street car. Street tires, so you're talking radials.
For R Factor.
And that changes things when you're doing the physics, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. 320 horsepower, twin turbo on this thing.
Which is a beast for the. It's a lighter weight car. I don't remember the exact number, but it's a
Under
lightweight car.
3,000 pounds.
And a lot of horsepower, and the way that turbo delivers it, insane.
I love, speaking of turbo, the sounds.
the snorting beast sound.
Yeah, we scored it pretty high on sounds. I don't have that score here in front of me, but we definitely scored it high on sounds. One of the things I loved about this car, first thing you get in is you're in the cockpit, and it's got that shiny look to the wheel that Toyotas have. That, you know, that's that plasticky look.
Yeah, I swear they could use this.
There it is right here, as a matter of fact.
This interior could be used for, like, in the Toyota showroom, like telling people, hey, this is what it's like driving the car.
Yeah, these guys did an awesome job on this thing. I wonder if
Yeah.
one of these guys actually owned this car and wanted to do it.
Well, it's that kind of passion. I mean, you have working headlights, working taillights, reverse lights. I mean, the models are beautiful.
Let's talk about the upgrades. It's got,
Yeah.
you can change rims
Yeah,
out.
I think there are 3 different wheels you could choose from, which were really cool.
And you can change the tail out.
And the front spoiler, which was hard to notice, but it had a little spoiler you could put on there.
Yep, exactly. And looks like Toyota's going to get an extra few seconds because our video paused. We got a minute and a half on this video.
No more timer. The video is our timer.
Yeah, it is, exactly. But what a great job. And as a matter of fact, here's a version with the rims upgrade and the wing upgrade. But that's it. So we gave this car an 86.5, and
Wow.
it tied the Abarth.
So second overall so far, tied with the Abarth, another really well-modeled car.
Yep. Next up, the Dallara IndyCar by iRacing.com, 2009, and
Yeah.
our first experience with this car was at the was up in Infineon.
And you know, we were talking about this earlier. We can filibuster real quick. Indy 500, the simulation. I mean, this is a car that we've been waiting on forever.
Yep. And
Speaking
what
of.
an incredible job iRacing's done with this car. The physics, highest score so far we've given for a car in physics, 18.5.
Yeah, near perfection.
Yeah, and considering you run this car on an oval and a road course, and I've done a little bit of testing on both. Right here we're running Mosport, and we've run it at Indy, and it just...
and it's Sonoma, obviously.
Yeah, it handles. We were talking about what a beast this car is. It just shows us spinning out.
But the thing about it, it went from oval to road course beautifully. I mean, very naturally. And I mean, there was no fudging anything to get it to do that. It was just really suited at every track we took it to.
Yeah, it was. Sounds. Best iRacing sounds, I think, to date.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of what really draws you into it. It carries over to the fun factor and also the immersiveness. I mean, I am so drawn into the Dallara when I'm driving it. The way the engine sounds, the throttle, the steering input, all of it is so tied together that I can't think of anything but driving when I'm doing it.
Yeah, the force feedback too for iRacing is second to none. Here's a little bit of Indy. I can't wait for this Indy 500 in May that they're going to have.
Full fields in Indy. It's going to be insane.
Yeah, it will be insane. 13.3 we gave sounds. So that's the highest we've given for iRacing.
Yeah, incredible.
Fun factor 9.25. We gave the force feedback 9 3/4. So that's going to do it actually for this car. And overall, it's going to top our list now. 89.4, just shy of 90. So.
But that still puts it at the very top of the list.
Yep, and that's actually going to do it for top simulation cars of all time. I'm only going to have 2 cars on this episode, and probably 2 cars next time. We're trimming it down a little bit, but now we have 16 cars on the list.
I want to tell people, you got to get involved in this too. We're looking for people to submit their own scores and to vote also. So simraceway.com, they're going to have a vote going for picking the best car out of R Factor and which one we'll be doing on the show next time.
Yep, and then we have our own list, or not list going, but we have a place where you can talk about this segment on our forum at InsideSimRacing.tv. So let's actually go back to the master list now. We got the Dallara on the top with an 89.4.
Wow.
The Lotus in second, the 79 Lotus by iRacing also with an 87. And the Abarth and the Toyota from this one in third and fourth with an 86.5.
Wow.
And then the SK Modified with an 86. So.
Wow. iRacing is really dominating the top of the list, but 2 runners up right behind them.
Yep. Lots of cars to go, too. I know there's going to be some cars out there that are going to give those iRacing cars a run for their money.
Talked about a few that might go right to the top.
Yep. So that's going to do it. Top simulation cars of all time, sponsored by simraceway.com.
Home of the one-click install.
Yep. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you for the next one.
That's going to wrap up today's show. Hope you've enjoyed it.
I definitely have.
So have I. We said that earlier.
I know. But it's not really for us to enjoy. We hope you enjoyed it.
Exactly. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not yet, and please visit our forum and some other big news over at iTunes. If you have iTunes, go onto their store and go under podcast, and
we're front and center.
We are. Our show is featured right on the front page there. So
download it to your iPod, watch it on the road while you're traveling, whatever. So don't watch it while you're driving, but
definitely not.
Unless you're a passenger, long trip, great to download a bunch of our shows and catch up on them. So I think that's going to do it, isn't it?
That's going to do it. Thank you guys for watching. Checker flag is out, and so are we.